Well, Andy from Hecate Enthroned, welcome to Into the Necrosphere. Before we start talking about anything else, you guys are due to play what I think probably is going to be, if it happens, and I say if it happens because obviously we know there's a lot of speculation online at the moment about, you know, ne'er-do-wells of the purple-haired variety that might try and disrupt this, but you guys are due to play Metal Threat, aka Metal Woodstock, on October. I don't know which day you guys are playing, but it's October the 2nd to October the 5th. You must be massively excited about that. I mean, if you think of like dream lineups, I can't think of a stronger lineup in 2025.
There's some great bands on it, you know. It's long overdue. We've been wanting to get to the States for such a long time, and it's a bit surreal. It's happening, you know. So absolutely, it's going to be fantastic, you know.
You guys have you must have played, unless I'm mistaken, you must have played the States, you know, in years, decades gone by.
No, we've never been there. Never. Gone to the States. No.
Oh wow, okay.
We've done all around Europe and played Scandinavia, but we've never got to the States or South America. So yeah, it's quite a big deal for us, really.
Are you taking the opportunity to hit a couple of different cities in the US while you're there, or are you just going to Chicago for Metal Threat?
We certainly hope to get some more dates around it, but I think that's still under question at the moment. You know, there's still, you know, we don't know whether it's going to happen or not yet. So yeah, even if it's just the one date for now, we're quite happy with it, you know.
Yeah, I'm about to say again, you know, you can't think of a stronger lineup to do your US debut on. Do you know where you guys are at in terms of the day schedule? Like who plays before you, who plays after you?
I think we're playing on the first day. I think we're like, I'm pretty sure we play, you know, third from the end, you know, so there's another two bands after us. I think I can't even remember, you know. I'm useless, to be honest. But we're on the first day, I think. Is it the Thursday or Friday? So
and I mean the good thing is you're pretty high up on the billing as well, which is good. So you guys will, I'm assuming you'll get a reasonable amount of time to play.
Yeah, I think we're getting an hour. So
yeah, fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Now, without spilling any beans or giving away any, you know, G14 classified secrets, is there any concern amongst any of the folks, you know, in Hecate Enthroned or any bands you've spoken to who are on the bill, that this could potentially get cancelled? Because it's crazy. Like whenever anybody I know who's either going or who's playing here, when they talk about this, everyone is sort of waiting with bated breath, like, is this actually going to go ahead or not?
You never know. It's, you know, it might do, but at the end of the day, we're going to go out there. Well, hopefully we're going to go out there, but you know, politics involved or not, we don't care. We're just going out there to play, like, you know. So we'd be disappointed if it gets cancelled, because, you know, at the end of the day, fuck it, it's black metal at the end of the day. When I started listening to black metal, there was no boundaries, you know. So
yeah, no boundaries, and I think people were far less afraid of offending anybody or you know, scaring anybody. But be that as it may, I mean, I really do hope that it goes ahead for you guys, you know, for your sake and for everybody else's sake. Certainly the people that are going.
Cheers, man.
You guys are also busy working on a new album now, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw an update saying that you guys just finished recording the drums.
Yeah, drums are down. All of Nigel's guitars are down, and I start mine tomorrow, actually. So yeah, some of the most of the bass is down as well. So
how is everything coming together? Because it's, you know, first time for you guys in the studio since 2019.
Yeah.
So it's been a while of inactivity. Like how do you feel things are coming together now?
Well, it's been a bit of a change because we've got a different drummer on board now as well. Matt joined us a couple of years ago, and it's the first time we've recorded with him. And he's not local, so he's in Leeds, but so we don't practice as much as we'd like to. But the writing for the whole album's been a bit of a different situation from we have done in the past. Nigel's put a lot of hard work into it. It's been, the album's been pretty much wrote, not as a full band, So I think a lot of bands do it like that, but we never have done in the past. We've always wrote as a band unit, but this album's different.
Yeah.
So it's sounding well though. What's gone down, I'm really pleased with what I'm hearing. So yeah. Fingers crossed.
Excited for people hearing it. Let me ask you this question: obviously, there's been a 6-year gap. Does it feel, and not just 6-year gap year, but looking at how long you've been in the band? I mean, you're about to celebrate or 2 years away from celebrating your 30th anniversary as a member of Hecate Enthroned. That must surely feel surreal.
It didn't. I didn't think I'd be in the band that long, to be honest. When I first joined, it's gone so quickly. It's frightening how fast it's gone.
Yeah.
But even COVID seemed like yesterday, and you're talking 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a big piece of time, and it's frightening how quickly it is going.
You guys, at least, just thinking of COVID, I mean, you did at least have a bit of grace period to promote Embrace of the Godless Aeon when that came out. It wasn't like, because that record came out in January, if I'm not mistaken. And it wasn't like, some bands that were putting out albums in March of 2020. I mean, I had Charles from Mayhem on the podcast, and he was talking about this. They put out the record, the production for the show is, for the shows are all set, tours booked, and then literally the day they're on the plane, everything gets cancelled and everything, everybody goes into lockdown. Did you guys feel like, at least with Embrace of the Godless Aeon, you managed to get it out to the people that you wanted to get it out to before everything shut down?
Well, we were quite disappointed we didn't get enough, time to go and play it live. It's still a big part of the set, but that whole COVID thing, it was just, ruined it a bit. Definitely ruined it a bit for us. But we've had some good stuff come through anyway, shows, but it definitely did damage that potential of touring on that album.
Yeah. How many how many shows did you guys have cancelled roughly? What are the things that were in the can scheduled at the point that the lockdowns kicked in?
I'm not really sure exactly what got cancelled, but it's just that the fact that you couldn't go out and do it, more than anything. To be honest, I've been that used to shows being cancelled and not happening. After all this time, it can get very disappointing, So I just go on with my life. If the gigs happen, they happen, so.
So tell me about the, rewinding back all the way to the beginning 28 years ago. How did it come to be that you ended up joining Hecate Enthroned? Because you weren't there from the very beginning.
Well,
you're about to say you were skulking in the shadows waiting to pounce.
Well, I was at the first gig, but I was at the first few gigs. But I was in a nightclub. It was the TIV. The first show was in the TIV nightclub in Buckley. And a couple of years before, I was walking through the TIV. There was only a few of us that would wear death metal, black metal shirts in the day, And this guy with a black metal shirt on, I think I might have had a dark zone top on or something, comes up to me and he goes, "You don't play bass, do you?" And I was like, "No, I don't actually. I play guitar though." So anyway, it was John, and he said, "We need a bassist for the band he's creating." So I was just like, "Nah, mate, I can't help you out there. I play guitar only." I play 6 strings, not 4, you know.
Mm.
So I'd seen him a few times after that, and then I knew Hecate were playing in the TIV, this black metal band, and it was John, you know, and Nige and the original lineup. So I was talking to them straight away because I hadn't seen the lads around. So kind of got friends with them, and then I think it was, it must have been 96, 97, I think it's when Mark left, or he was still in the band, but he had a few problems, Mark, but they asked me if I'd join on guitar. I think it was in back end of 97, so I said yeah, and went for a practice, and it all went from there, like, you know. So it was
how did you slot into the band? Like, you know, because obviously but the way you're describing it, there was probably a bit of overlap between Mark exiting the band and you coming in. But did it feel from the start like a natural fit? You know, what was that like for you?
Well, it was a bit awkward because Mark was still in the band, and I joined. You know, well, they said I was a member, but it was kind of, I wasn't sure. You know, I was expecting Mark to come back, but
they said, we're getting a third guitarist named Andy.
Yeah.
We really want to beef up the live sound.
Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so I ended up taking the role with it, like, you know. But yeah, all mad stuff.
You were also a member of probably, I mean, how many black metal bands were actually active in that time in the UK? Because it wasn't many. Like I like the prolific bands were basically you guys up to like a certain point in the 90s. It was you guys and it was Cradle of Filth, and that was about it.
Yeah. There's a couple of good bands in the UK. You know, we had Thus Defiled. They were about.
Was Reign of Erebus going around that time as well?
I think Reign of Erebus was just a little bit later, maybe about 97, 98, maybe.
Yeah.
About the same sort of time when I joined.
Yeah.
But who else? I'm trying to think of the bands. He had a band called Enchanted. I think they were borderline black metal. You know, I've probably got people screaming at me now saying that there's all these other bands.
How could you forget about band XYZ? Yeah,
known really well, and even Deity came one of the earlier ones as well.
Yeah, of course, and well, a band we're going to talk about in more detail in a bit, Akrakoka. I mean, they were, you know, this is I think two of the times I saw you guys play was opening for them. And I know, obviously, you know, Jason was, you know, did guest vocals for you guys on Redimus, and you know, there was stuff that you guys did for them, etc., etc. So there was a nice bit of overlap and camaraderie there. But I mean, it was very much a case of you guys were one of the forerunners, at the very least, of the UK black metal scene. When you joined the band, were the accusations of Hecate Enthroned, you know, being a Cradle of Filth clone and all that sort of shit, was that still in full swing, or had it started to die down?
No, it's gone on for a long time. Actually, it's not so much in the past 10 years or so, but we've had that for a long time. But
in that time when you joined, it was at fever pitch, which is
we were Cradle of Filth ripoffs that you know in the magazines and even in 1999 we released Kings of Chaos, which couldn't be any further away from Cradle as you could go. Like, but I remember reading a review saying just sounds like Cradle of Filth ripoffs, and it was just, if you listen to that album, it's totally it's a different kettle of fish, you know.
Well, Kings of Chaos and Redimus in particular, to me, is like it's a very, very intentional step away from that style of black metal. Like almost it sounded like you guys were almost consciously wanting to try and get as far away from those comparisons as you could. So I would imagine, because I've read some interviews where I can't remember if it was, I think it might have been Dylan, where he was asked about this and he was like, oh yeah, we didn't really pay any attention to it. But you're a human being at the end of the day. If someone tells me, hey, Jackie, you're just a ripoff of I don't know. No one can possibly imitate me, or I couldn't possibly be a ripoff of somebody. But you're just a ripoff of fucking, I don't know, Joe Rogan. I would take that firstly as a fucking huge compliment, but you know what I mean. It's like you're a human being, so it must bug you to some degree, right?
I think it did. It affected me a little bit, but I've always kind of had. I wanted to play black metal because I liked the hate around it and the fact that it was against things, and the fact that people were calling us Cradle of Filth. It just fed my anger, to play hard sort of thing, So it kind of worked with the way with us as well, And I think with the other guys, especially, Dylan, especially, like, we'll, we've been called a lot of things, audible things, so, and it's not Cradle of Filth,
I'm about to say, it's just, let's just lay another one on the pyre. What were some of your memories of the scene in the UK in those early days, like mid to late 90s when you were just joining the band? What was the scene like?
It was awful, to be honest. There wasn't much going on.
Yeah,
it was dead, and it was definitely mixed crowd. There wasn't like now we're going to shows and the black metal scene's never been as strong, in the UK. Yeah. It's fantastic now, but back in the day, it was dire, man. You probably get two people with black metal shirts on, and then there was people with Faith No More shirts on, and it was just a very mixed crowd, And then when we were getting laughed at as well, especially putting corpse paint on and stuff, and people were like, But then they're going to see you, but it was a strange thing. It was definitely a lot better in Europe.
I was going to ask you, were the Faith No More crowd at least open to hearing your music? Did you see a couple of Faith No More folk going, this is fucking brilliant, fuck yeah?
Both, I think. You get people liking it, and then people who just want to hate you anyway. So I definitely, the crowd more nowadays are a lot more accepting, and I think they know what they're going into. I think social media, the internet has made it better. A lot of people will see the band logo, turn up and didn't know who the hell we were, and then they'd hate us. So yeah.
But I also remember during that time, and the music magazines of the day, barring of course Terrorizer, but Metal Hammer, Kerrang. I mean, they were so on the fucking nut of new metal, and the UK scene. It was a bit of a turning point for me, and I'd love to get your perspective on this. You can tell me if you think I'm completely wrong here, but it was a bit of a turning point for me in the UK scene, where for a long time the UK had led the charge as far as creativity, originality, pioneering different genres, etc. is concerned. And when new metal happened, that completely changed. There was a whole load of bands that all tried to sound like Korn or like Deftones or whatever was popular at the time, and the magazines were like fully behind them. And it kind of felt like for a period of time the UK music scene just completely and utterly lost its spirit. It just became, at least I would say, until the back end of the 90s, possibly even a little later than that, it just became incredibly anemic.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with you. Like even the bands that we were playing with, that was heavily influenced. The whole new metal thing was incorporated to the heaviest side of metal, But yeah, I don't think that's lasted now, has it? It shows its age a bit, I think.
No, it definitely hasn't. I mean, I think the only band that's still, weirdly enough, that I've seen, I mean, Korn does very, very well. I saw some footage of Limp Bizkit at Wembley Arena. They did really, really well. I think there'll be a nostalgia element to it, but I mean, what I would say is the scene had definitely turned by the time that I landed in the UK, which was February the 12th, 2002. Like some of the first shows that I saw at the London Underworld, like there was a real excitement in the air. And again, like that's where I saw you guys. I saw Reign of Erebus. I saw Akakoka, the mighty Akakoka, and I saw them in their prime. And there was like, new metal was kind of forgotten by this point, and I felt like extreme metal was starting to have its moment in the spotlight again, because there was so much. There was a lot of really exciting stuff happening in the UK at the time. At what point do you feel like it started to turn around, or at least, if in being in the band at the time, did you sense around that period that things were starting to turn around?
After the new metal thing, you mean?
Yeah.
Is that? I think it was. I think it's been pretty dire. It was probably up to like 2010. Something like that.
Really?
Yeah, it was up here, up in the north. I didn't feel it at all, like. But
because you guys are all obsessed with fucking White Lightning and the Stone Roses. That's the problem.
like, yeah.
But no, sorry, I interrupted you. To 2010, you felt like it started to change.
Yeah, but I just think the change was, it was more kind of, the black metal scene started to get accepted and grow, better, But I think it's like good promoters that have come around, push the scene, if anything,
So you're not saying that on February the 12th, 2002, a wild, fucking handsome South African landed and brought the spirit of man's metal back to the shores of the United Kingdom. Thank you very much, Jackie Smith from Into the Necrosphere. But did you guys feel like outcasts when you were doing those shows with Akakoka as an example? Because I mean, I remember, you guys, especially there was one in particular where it was Reign of Erebus. You guys you guys got such a fucking ovation that evening. Like I remember that very, very distinctly.
Right, yeah. Well, that was good times. To be honest, every time we played with Akakoka, it's always been awesome. Like, and even up until, I think we toured with them in 2017. We've done quite a few dates with them, but yeah, sorry, mate, I've lost where I'm at in the conversation now.
How did the relationship with Akakoka start? Because as I said, I mean, you guys really were sort of thick as thieves for a while.
Oh, it started. We got offered a show with Morbid Angel in 1999, and it was us. Well, it was Akakoka, us, and Morbid Angel in. Was it the old Astoria or in London?
It would have been the LA2.
Yeah, big old stage, and we just got friends with them there, and we started doing shows, sorting out shows together and everything. So yeah, but not long after that, we done a European tour with Behemoth and Satyricon, which is, looking back, probably an excellent tour to be on. It would be now, anyway.
I'm about to say, nowadays, you'd be flown from. I don't know if they're flying, but you'd be touring in luxury, relatively.
Yeah, speaking. Eating lobster tails every day, innit?
Yeah, well, tasting whatever vintage has been produced by Satyr's winery. Yeah. What were those dudes like in those days?
Funny, kind of a bit of a strange sense of humor, but I appreciate, I respect the guys, but a bit of a strange sense of humor compared to ours. Like, so I think some of their jokes kind of got our back up a bit. But
in what sense?
Well,
I've said so many unflattering things about Nurgle on this podcast. By the way, I'm not to suggest that you'd want to start a beef with him, but
it was just
people also change.
We were all young. We were all early 20s, and just I think just the Norwegian sort of humour with the British humour just kind of didn't rub together. But we got on with them, But it was just a bit of a misunderstanding with us, But I think as you get older, you realise that it's just difference,
Yeah, you also learn to become, I think, more nimble in your, with the way you are as a person. Like I've experienced that in my day job where I manage, people in multiple different countries, and you just, initially it's the adjustment to those different cultures and those different styles is harder, but it definitely, I feel as I've grown older, it's become a lot easier. The just to kind of contextualize the comment on Behemoth and Nurgle in particular, I was very impressed with him the first time that I met him. Like, he was a guy that I had this really, there was I don't know what the right word would be, but polish is the first word that comes to mind. But there was this real energy and this drive and a hunger and an ambition to him. Like, you could I've said this many times before, but you could tell he was going to be successful.
Yeah.
And it really broke my heart, and probably has been the cause of most of my feelings, my ill feeling towards him in later years, when I saw him on stage basically telling bands, basically telling youngsters, don't start a band, blah blah blah. He was kind of, I just felt like, whether he meant it or not, it came across like he was really bitter and just ragging on the scene and trying to dissuade people from starting a band. And I understand to a degree feeling like the scene is oversaturated, but at the same time, if you're gonna say the scene is oversaturated, one, you have to I think it's hypocritical, because you have to think about where you came from. He was he was also a young guy at one point who came into the scene with ambitions and stuff like that. He's basically saying, I don't want to see another person like me come out in 2025, which I don't agree with. And then the second thing is, you have to be making music that's of a caliber that shows up the young bloods in the scene. And I'm very sorry, but if we go down that list of everybody that's on Metal Threat, I can point without breaking a sweat to at least 15 bands that are better than Behemoth. So that's my feeling, with regards to him. Satira is a little bit different. I'll, with the exception of the last album, I still have a soft spot even for the stuff that people didn't like as much. And yes, he's also probably got a degree of swagger and arrogance to him, but it's not nearly as bad as Nurgle.
Yeah, no, it's grown into something that,
well, it's grown into something that doesn't really, to me, it doesn't have anything to do with black metal anymore.
Well, he shouldn't be said. Personally, I wouldn't be telling people not or what to do with their lives.
Yeah.
If people are swayed by someone telling them what to do, they're fucking idiots anyway.
Yeah.
If you want to start a band and do your own music, you can do it, innit?
Yeah. In those early days, outside of the outside of that tour, what was the highlight? What was the best show that you guys ever played in, like 2002 or 2003, around that time?
If we go to 2005, I think the first time we went to Czech Republic. That's always been special for us, going to Czech Republic. We're actually going out there again in August at Armageddon of Decibels Festival. But we never experienced sort of a warm welcome, by a crowd like they were to us in 2005, the Czech Republic crowd. And it really stepped our game up, I think. I think it made us believe in ourselves a bit more, So yeah, but Czech Republic 2005 stands out a lot. Yeah.
Was it a case as well of people, or the audience already knew the songs, and were, there's that kind of, I think there's those two kinds of crowds. There's one where they're impressed with you, but they don't know you. But the others, there's the other crowd they expect certain songs, or they expect a certain kind of performance. You can see they're sort of waiting for what they know you have to give them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, there was that. They definitely knew the stuff. But the second day, I think we played Prague and we played Brno. And when we played Brno, we played the set and the crowd kicked off that much. They wouldn't let us off the stage. We got asked to play some more songs. We played the set twice.
Oh, shit.
And they wouldn't let us off. So that's how, it was great. Like, and they still, we still get people talk about it when we go to Czech Republic. They talk about the show that we done. And I was just like, I didn't even think it was that good, but they loved it.
So by this point, you're in the band for 8 years, and you mentioned to me earlier on in the conversation that you never thought you were going to be in the band for as long as you'd been in. How long had you originally? What were your expectations in terms of how long you'd be playing with Hecate Enthroned?
To be honest, I was kind of always into death metal. I was big into the death metal. I love black metal. And I always thought I'd be going into a death metal band doing it because I had riffs and ideas which was going to go in that kind of direction. But it's just basically the band, you all become brothers, so it's... we end up sticking the band, staying with the band and sticking with it because we're all we became family, so it's just the way it goes. So I probably thought I'd be in the band 5-6 years, but no.
And then go off to go and do your own death metal thing, or was that kind of what you had in your mind?
I just didn't think there was a career in it, I just didn't think it was going. Well, not a career, but I didn't think it'd last. I just didn't think it'd last, but we have, and I can see now that we will continue to do so as long as our bodies stay intact, as long as we can,
And creatively, by the time Kings of Chaos and I would say especially Redimus rolled around, I think it, at least to my ears, it sounds like you were able to start to bring in some of that, some of that death metal influence, and that it was being more accepted potentially than would have been done previously. Is that fair to say?
I kind of think the two styles with me and Nige definitely played totally different guitar styles when I joined, and I kind of struggled with it because I had to kind of learn everything that Nige was doing. So, but then my style's grown into the band as well, and then I think it's just basically amalgamated now, and that's what it's become, especially with these later albums, especially from Virulent Rapture and Aeons. So, but it's a strange process, I think, and being asked about it, it's quite hard to work out,
Where does your style come from? Like, who would you say were your early influences, and then as you evolved as a player, who started inspiring you then?
Well, I started when I was a kid. I got a guitar when I was 6 years old, so I started playing guitar, and I think the reason why, when I was 5, I was round at my friend's house and he had a Queen playing. It was a live concert with Queen, and Brian May was playing. I was like, holy shit, I want to do that. I want to make that noise. So I wanted to play guitar. So anyway, I think of my first electric when I was about 12, and from that point I got like a really good guitar teacher as well. He really brought me on a lot. So I was always trying to write, from even when I was learning, I was trying to write music. So I just had like a back catalogue of riffs. So
how old abouts were you when this started?
Well, I started playing when I was 6, playing guitar when I was 6.
And how old were you when you got a teacher?
I was 12 when I got my first electric. So yeah, I was 12. And then I had a teacher for about 2 or 3 years, and then the style I was trying to play was not. He's a really good country and jazz player, the guitar teacher.
I was going to ask you, was he into metal as well, or what?
He could play rock, and
Yeah,
he wasn't like into metal as such, but so I kind of directed myself into playing like death metal and like hearing the early Cannibal Corpse albums, and I was like wanted to do that. So yeah, trying to influence me friends to try and play other, get playing guitars and basses and stuff.
What was the first album or the first song that made you fall in love with death metal?
Ooh. I couldn't say one particular song, but it's going to be the early Cannibal Corpse, Morbid Angel, even. I think maybe Morbid Angel actually alters of someone in school I dealt was a madness, and it was I was all over it, like. But then I was really into like early Deicide, especially Legion era, early Cannibal Corpse, loved Tomb of the Mutilated, so it was all over them. So
I was saying the other day on the podcast, I listened to Eaten Back to Life again the other day for the first time in years, and oh my God, I forgot how good of an album that is.
yeah,
It oftentimes gets overlooked, and whenever you see these stupid, poser tier lists on on YouTube, it'll always be like really like ranked pretty far down below. I actually think it's better than Butchered at Birth. I think it's not a million miles away from Tomb of the Mutilated. I think it's a fantastic record, and I would go as far as to say I think it's not showing its age at all. The production still sounds good. The performances are fucking superb, and the songwriting on that record is so tight and so catchy.
And the vocals have got a bit more variation to them as well, haven't they?
Yeah,
so,
yeah. No, absolutely agree. So, by the age of 12, you're starting to play guitar, and you've got the teacher that's steering you down the track. You're also doing your own thing. So, what were the first bands that you played in? Because prior, and this is according to Metal Archives, prior to Hecate Enthroned, you also played in Colonel Blast and a band called Imperial Genocide.
That right, Colonel Blast was from 2008. I think, or 2009.
Oh, yes, you are correct.
So, Imperial Genocide's the band that was I've been wanting to start, which I was doing with John, but John's passed away. He passed away in 2023. The original singer, So that's come to a bit of a standstill.
But the first bands that you played in, as a youngster, can you remember anything about those?
Yeah, well, there was a drummer in school. We didn't ever gig or anything, but we were just jamming in his garage and getting told off by his neighbours for jamming. And then I was putting a band together with Daz, who eventually became the keyboard player in Hecate.
Yeah.
On the Kings of Chaos and Redeemers. And he was the other guitarist. We were writing riffs, which basically became Hecate riffs eventually. So, but I never managed to get anything gigging, before joining Hecate. So
Hecate was your first proper band, and that's kind of where you found your home ever since.
Yeah.
So after Redeemers, you did Virulent Rapture that came out in 2013. The 9-year gap there. What was the main reason for it?
Do you know what? We're useless. That's about. You know what? I don't know. We just have. If it's not right and it's not ready, it doesn't get released.
So you're from the
We're
you're from
perfectionists.
the Dagon school of album production,
Yeah,
where we wait 25 years to put out our debut record.
we're all the same age, aren't we? So yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that delay, that sort of 9-year gap, because you guys were gigging during that time? I know because I saw you guys play during
I,
that time. But do you think
I
that
think
hurt the band at all? Not putting out anything for so long.
Sorry, what was that?
I said, do you think that that kind of period of 9 years between putting out records, do you think that hurt the band at all?
Probably.
Being away for so long.
I think so. Yeah. We haven't been very business minded with the band, and it's always been a kind of a bit of a fun party band as well. So it's something that we love, and we've kind of done it our way. But more recently, we've been a lot more professional in the way we've tried to do stuff, except for, we're saying that now, we're on 5 years now, aren't we? From the last out, well, 6 years.
Well, you at least you got COVID.
Yeah.
COVID as your alibi for this. So
Yeah.
at least at least there's kind of some degree of plausible deniability. You don't have to you don't have to say we just couldn't be asked to do any new music during that time.
No, it's not that we can't be asked, and we'd be putting stuff out, but we're all working full-time jobs, and it's having the time, and like I said, the way we've always wrote has been as a unit. So when we're all working and trying to get everything down and writing, it's been a slow process, really.
Yeah, and if you're living your own life, I think one of the things that becomes more evident with a lot of bands I speak to is the old days where you had the luxury of being in a rehearsal space where you could write songs together, and where a lot of things, a lot of ideas and whole albums kind of came about organically. A lot of bands just don't have that anymore, because people have careers, they have lives, they live in different places. And because the internet has facilitated a way for you to just start exchanging ideas online as well.
Yeah, well, the whole learning the computers and everything, and digital recording's a new thing for us, really, and when we started and when I joined, we were recording the old style where, on tapes, so that's where it was your band, you were well rehearsed and you went and recorded, so yeah, we're on that crossover, from being old bastards to new people,
getting back in the mix with the kids.
Yeah, trying to get in with them,
yeah. So the Embrace of the Godless Aeon last album that you guys put out before COVID, that really was an album that a lot of people said was a return to form for the band. I feel like, as far as critical acclaim, it was definitely the most acclaimed album you guys have put out in a very, very long time. How did you feel about the response to that album? After being around for so long, and probably in some quarters being written off because you've taken a while between albums, etc., etc. Was it great to be able to put something out like that and have it so warmly received?
Yeah, it was good, because we've released albums in the past and there's been nothing come back off them at all, not even reviews. So yeah, that went down so well. It was really positive, and it was good for us, So nice.
You guys also, you didn't have the best, just on the topic of putting out albums to nothing. You didn't necessarily have the best luck with labels either, because you were on Blackened for a period of time, and then with Redeemus, that was your last record for Blackened. They've pretty much they shut up shop after Redeemus, right?
Yeah, I think it's changed to Cherry Red, I think they're called now, or something. That's what the company's turned into.
Cherry Red.
Yeah.
What are they putting out under the name Cherry Red?
Everything, probably. It's PhD, isn't it?
I had heard that they had originally shut up shop because they said that Andy from Hecate Enthroned's excessive cocaine demands is what led them to bankruptcy.
Oh yeah.
Andy's demands for the old snow during the recording of Redeemers. They said, guys, we just couldn't keep up with it. They were a legendary label for a time, though. You know, again, a lot of people forget it, but fucking hell, they put out a lot of really, really prime stuff, you know, and stuff that are in a lot of people's, again, of a certain generation, in a lot of people's collections. Acheron, Enthroned. I mean, they put you guys out. Intestine Baalism, Reign of Erebus. They had those blackened compilations where, I mean, I discovered so much fucking stuff listening to those. Like, I can't remember whether I think they just called it Blackened Volume 1, Blackened Volume 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were a pretty big deal label, and sort of like a lot of the influential labels in the UK just disappeared like a fart in the wind.
Yeah, there's some good bands on the label, you know. Enthroned were on there, weren't they? And I'm trying to think who else. Yeah.
Hateplow were on there as well, although I think they put Hateplow out. No, they put Hateplow out in one of their compilations. Also a fucking cool band, though. Kyle from Hateplow is, I personally think, one of the best, or the best Malevolent Creation vocalist not named Brett Hoffman. He's such a fucking aggressive, like, in your face dude. I remember seeing them live with Kyle. They played with Immolation, and they absolutely fucking crushed. Incredible show.
Retribution's one of my all-time.
Yeah.
Great.
Like, what word, like you know, as when we're talking about these legends, you guys must obviously have had. You mentioned playing with Morbid Angel. Like, what was like a show that you guys played where you had to really pinch yourself and go, Jesus, I never thought, before I joined this band, I never thought I was going to be sharing a stage with band X.
Festivals in Czech Republic. What festival is it? Big Brutal Assault. Motorhead.
Oh yeah.
So being on the same bill as Motorhead was nice, you know. And we got his whiskey as well, because we were getting looked after by the guy who was looking after Satyricon and Motorhead. So Lemmy had to go back. I don't think he was well. He got a flight back after the show, so we ended up having some of his whiskey. So it was all right.
You never got to meet Lemmy, though?
No, I didn't. Oh. I seen him on stage. I stood behind him when he was playing on stage, but that was good enough.
Yeah. Well, again, I think especially now that he's no longer with us, it's that's a memory that'll stick with you forever. No question.
Yeah.
And
we got like photographs at the back of the stage with members of our band with all Motorhead flight cases there, all printed up with Motorhead on, which is just memories, you know, great memories.
Yeah. Is there something that you would have done differently if you could have everything, you know, if you could go back in time and have everything done from scratch? Like, is there, or what are the things that you would do differently with this band?
Well, I always thought that I'd want to live off the band and do it full time, you know. But more to speak to professional musicians that do it full time. Now I'm starting to realise that they kind of wish they'd settled, you know, had a home life as well, you know. So when you got certain people saying to you, you know, that they wish that what they had, what you had, what I've got, you know, I'm thinking, I wish I was doing what they're doing. So it's always, the grass is always greener on the other side, isn't it? You know?
Well, what do you do for a living, just out of interest?
I drive a hazardous waste all around the northwest, so I dispose of hazardous waste.
Oh shit! Okay,
all the good stuff.
So no more metal a job than that, mate.
No. But that's it.
I was going to ask, like, your work life and the band life, are they relatively compatible?
Yeah, because my working hours are really great, you know, and I get good holidays, so it's worked out great.
So
And
you
I
can
like
manage
that.
the band around the work schedule.
Yeah, totally. It's always worked,
So getting to the album, this upcoming album, do you guys feel like you have anything to prove, or is there anything like what's sort of the driving force? What gets you excited about the band in 2025 relative to those early days of first being in the band?
I think now it's kind of going to new places that we've not been to and managed, if we get to the States, it's it is looking like that's going through, like that festival. But
About to say, we'll just have to make sure the fucking pink hairs that it rains
yeah,
that day or something like that. It's just anything to dissuade them from going. They should have advertised it as a job fair, and there'd be nobody there to protest it then.
absolutely.
I'm just late at night. I'm just being facetious. Dude, well, look, it's been fantastic catching up with you. Have you any idea of when the new album is due?
Hopefully the end of this year, early next year. We haven't got a definite date yet, so
Yeah,
but it's all going down.
Still out on M Theory?
Yeah, this one's on M Theory. Yeah, so
Cool.
they've been brilliant. So
Excellent.
we're really happy. So
All right.
thanks for having us, man.
It's a big pleasure, my man, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you that Metal Thread goes ahead. I want to see the videos, of the fucking Chicago crazies crying outside whilst you guys tear it up on stage.
I've got a shirt that a band you might hate.
Oh, mate, yeah, that's the band of bands that you're repping right there.
That shirt.
Like I said, that's the band of bands that you're repping right there. So I dare not say the name because Jason Pepiat will point it out on the socials. So shout out to Jason. All right, my man. Take care of yourself.
Thank you, man. Cheers. Cheers,
Talk
bro.
soon, brother.